Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next session of APTConnect, the virtual lemonade stand. We are so excited to bring you this session today. As you're all getting situated and checking in, we invite you to pop in the chat. And instead of telling us where you're joining us from, which we've done every session before now, tell us that's the one thing you're interested about this session for. I'm going to go ahead and just do a couple of very quick housekeeping things. As you know, we're recording this session, so we'll make this recording available to you in the platform under the tools and resources for this session. And there's also some other cool things that Russ has provided for you there. There'll also be a copy of the slide deck available to you. We'll be giving away a $50 Tango gift card by the end of the session, so make sure that you stay logged in. And with that, I want to hand things off to our sponsor for today. We have Aaron Brewster with Catch-All Environmental. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us today.
Sure thing. Thank you, Sloan. So I'm Aaron. I'm the Sales and Marketing Director at Catch-All Environmental. And we're a stormwater system maintenance company that serves the Puget Sound and the Olympic Peninsula and beyond. And so essentially, just to explain a little bit about what we do, when a stormwater system is not maintained, it exposes the property owner to potential flooding and hefty fines for harming the environment. So at Catch-All Environmental, we provide an affordable and comprehensive stormwater system maintenance program, and that really puts compliance on autopilot and makes every property owner an environmental hero. So if you're having any stormwater system issues, or maybe you've received a municipal letter, or maybe you just want to kind of get ahead of things, because inspectors are trying to be out there every year now checking out stormwater systems. So give us a call. We'd be happy to check out your system and help you out. And so with that, I will go ahead and hand it over to Russ Webb.
Fantastic. Thank you, Aaron, and thank you to Catch-All for sponsoring. Truly appreciate that. I'm super excited to be with everyone. First of all, I'm going to tell you I speak really fast. You're never going to believe that I'm from the South because of how fast I speak, but it's okay. I promise you, it's exactly all right. You're going to catch up, and don't worry about taking all the notes down. It's 100% okay, because like Sloan said, in the MapD back end thing, you're going to see that you have all my slides, and there's also going to be some cool bonus material for you on there as well. So that's me. I love my title. I made it up for myself. My actual real title is Executive Director, but Chief Imagination Officer is so much more fun than the Executive Director. So I'm actually coming to you live today from Coronado Springs Resort at the Walt Disney World Resort. I'm here for the Florida Apartment Association Conference, so I snuck away from the conference to come on over here and share some cool things with y'all. So let's talk a little bit about how this class came to be. So 2020 was a drag, let's face it, and so was 2021. It was, so far it's just been like, whoa, come on, get us out of this. But it happens. It just absolutely happens. And when that happens, when life gives you lemons, grab tequila and salt. No, don't grab tequila and salt. When life gives you lemons, we make lemonade. That's what we do. So we're going to make some virtual lemonade from the lemons that life has dealt us, especially here in multifamily. So we're going to do that. And while we're going to do that, here's what we're going to talk about today. And again, I know it's going to be fast, and I promise you, I'll try to get through every single thing and leave a little room for questions at the end. So we're going to talk about what is virtual, because that's pretty important, understanding what virtual is, and then virtual marketing. But wait, isn't all marketing virtual? Not necessarily. We're going to talk about that as well. Virtual tours, we're going to get into those. We're going to talk about some virtual leasing. And we're going to talk about virtual resident events, because that's kind of a big one. And with that, I'm going to ask Sloan to launch a poll. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. But we'll start with this first poll. Actually, Sloan gave me access, so I am going to launch the first poll. There we go. First poll, there it is. I'm really curious. So prior to the pandemic, I'd like to know what percentage of your tours were done truly virtual. I want everybody to take the poll. And if you're on the supplier side and you're in the room, you don't have to take the poll, because obviously you weren't doing two tours then. Everybody take the poll. We're going to give you about 5 more seconds, and we're going to close this poll. 5, 4, 3, expectation, 2, 1, and boom. All right. We'll see what we got as an answer there. I'm really curious. Let's see what we got here. Oh, look at this. Wow. So that's kind of what I was expecting. So 64% of people said 0% of our tours were done virtually. And then some people said just a few, just a few there. And then 3% said at least half, and then 5% said most of them. Well, the ones who said most of them, let me tell you, you are ahead of the game. Absolutely ahead of the game. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. So all this together makes up what we call the virtual lemonade stand. And the virtual lemonade stand is going to help you make lemonades out of those lemons. So let's start talking about, first of all, virtual. We love to throw around this word virtual, especially during the last year when things happen. Someone's like, I work virtually. I read this thing virtually. But virtual, this is what it means in the computing world. It means not physically existing as such, but made by software to appear to do so. That's what virtual means. But the most important thing you learn on there is not physically existing, because when you do something truly virtually, you need to give people the feeling that they are immersed into the moment. And that's one of the problems that we've been facing when it comes to the kind of stuff that we do. So virtual marketing, I think everybody does some version of this. We'll talk to you about a little different kinds of virtual marketing. So there's online advertising, which we all know, there's a lot of companies within our industry that help us with that. Social media marketing, which you can do yourself, or you can use the third party and you find someone's expertise to be able to do that. Display advertising. Display advertising is just what it sounds like, right? That's like billboards and what we call one-way advertising. And then blogs. But virtual marketing these days, when you talk to real marketing people, and I'm lucky that I've got one in my family. My son has a bachelor's and a master's in marketing, so we talk about it a lot. And it's geared really was social sharing. Traditional marketing likes to deliver the message directly to the target audience. But virtual marketing, the whole idea behind virtual marketing is social sharing. And social sharing means that you're going to be able to market something that person who sees it may not exactly need it, but the hope is to get them to share it so that other folks will see it down the road, and they'll be the ones who will actually need it. All right, so let's talk about virtual marketing. The first thing I want you to do, get into your mind, how often do you Google yourself? And people love to say, well, I Google myself all the time, but you really don't. You'll do it and you forget about it. And Google your own name too. It's just kind of fun to see what comes up. But you need to Google your community name. You need to Google your community name, because here's what you need to find out. Did you show up? And if you did show up, have you claimed the Google listing? Because if you've not claimed the Google listing, first of all, someone else can. But number two, you're missing so much opportunity to interact with people. And when we get to reviews, we'll talk a little bit more about that at that point in time. But did you show up? Did you show up in the Google search results? Because remember, page 3 of Google search results is where websites go to die. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you actually know what's happening with your community and where are you and how do you improve that SEO. If you Google your community name, by the way, and if you see your competitors' names comes up, that means they're making very, very good use of meta tags and of the keywords. So you want to make sure that if they're showing up, that you're finding out what they're doing so that you're showing up ahead of them. So virtual marketing, right? So one of the main things that we tend to forget to do in virtual marketing is that call to action. So we need to have a call to action on every single thing that you put out there. And that call to action can be, look at that, questions, let's chat, like what you see, learn more, join the priority list, check availability, give us a call. So we have specials, want to see what they are, send us a text. All these great things, but a call to action is the most important thing. I'll see people that'll have a good virtual ad out there. I just saw one the other day for a really pretty apartment community that's in Clearwater, Florida, in my territory. And I loved everything about it except the lack of call to action. And I actually know the marketing director really well. And I said to her, I'm surprised you don't have a call to action. And she said, I do. Look, there's our website. And I was like, yeah, putting your website on there is not a call to action. A call to action is telling someone to do something, giving them a suggestion, a command, a request to be able to get more information. That's how call to action actually works. And everything you do on virtual marketing must be mobile friendly. Almost 70% of all internet traffic right now is done on mobile devices. That's what they are. Almost all traffic is headed that way. And I read a stat the other day for the American Marketing Association that says they do expect that number to approach 85 to 88% by the year 2025. So imagine that, the overwhelming majority of every single piece of internet traffic you're going to get is going to be on a mobile device. How is your mobile? How is your marketing? How is it on mobile friendly? Is it automatically responsive? Is it something that you're like, well, all the information's there, and yeah, it's there, but it scrolls itself into like 37 pages. So you need to make sure that you understand what you're doing on marketing, that mobile friendly is the #1 goal. And Also, make sure you try it on different devices. I'm an iPhone user. I believe in my iPhone. I love my iPad. I love these things. But what if I don't know how my stuff looks like on an Android? How about if I don't know what it looks like on one of the Windows phones? How about if I don't know? But I need to understand what it looks like on every type of different device. So figure out a way to absolutely do that and go ahead and make sure that you understand how those things are happening. All right. So virtual marketing through social sharing we talked about. So here's one thing I want you to do. This is a fun little game. So I am, you heard Sloan earlier, and they told you I'm the executive director for the Bay Area Apartment Association. That is Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, Sarasota, Venice, the prettiest part of Florida, over on the west side. And then my good pal Chip runs the Orlando Apartment Association, and we partner together and do a lot of training together. So one of the things that I do all the time is I tell our members to do this. I want you to go into Facebook, and I want you to type in these words: apartments for rent Tampa, apartments for rent Orlando. I want you to do apartments for rent Seattle, apartments for rent Bremerton. I want you to go in there and type that in and see what comes up. Because when you see what comes up, these are the people that have made the very best use of their descriptions within Facebook to be able to maximize that Facebook search engine. Because remember, I love it when everybody says, well, Google controls everything. Yeah, Google doesn't control Facebook search. They're two different companies. So you want to make sure that you understand that. And remember, people say, well, Facebook, that's not really a place that people are going to go to look for apartments. Well, remember, Facebook's the number 4 search engine. The number 4 search engine where people look for information is Facebook. So you want to make sure that when you go in there, so you type in apartments for rent Seattle, or maybe you're from a smaller even district, apartments for rent, whatever your little area is. See what comes up. Then once it comes up, I want you to go look at that page. I want you to read their description. I want you to see what they have on their Facebook page that got them to come to the top of the page and not you. Very important that you do that and get through that on that side. All right, virtual tours. Lots of different types of virtual tours. A 3D rendered tour is pretty awesome. You can virtual view. You can even do them now using augmented reality, using AR to do some pretty cool stuff. You can do a video walkthrough by using a professional videographer, for sure. I've seen people do video walkthroughs using a personal device, using a cell phone device, and we'll talk about a good way to do that. If you do a gallery of photos, that's fantastic. If that's all you can do, that's wonderful. But you must cover all parts of the floor plan. Here's why. If someone is going online and they're comparing your apartment to someone else's apartment, and they're taking a look at this whole thing when they're trying to be in a virtual world where they really can't come out and do a tour, and they say, oh, look, I can't see into that closet, or I can't see what that corner looks like beside the sliding glass door. These are things that will stop them from going that one step further towards your apartment community and go lean towards someone else. So pretty important, gallery of photo must cover the entire floor plan. And having a live walkthrough that's now using interactive as a proxy. This was one of my favorite things that popped up during COVID. And I really thought this was so brilliant. I have a really good buddy of mine and is a regional vice president for a property management company out of North Carolina. And they started this process where what it was, when you would be able to FaceTime or Zoom or Skype with someone from their team who would walk through the property with you, live video chat, and says, oh, can you show me inside that cabinet? Can you show me inside that closet? And they offered that, and they made a lot of fun with it. They were like, meet Julie. There's a picture of Julie. Meet Julie. She's your eyes and ears on the ground when you're looking for apartments. Call Julie today. Here's Julie's phone number. It was really smart. It was very bright. And because of that, they were able to lease up a higher level than the other things that were in their area. So pretty neat things. When you do a virtual tour, things you need to remember that are so important. First of all, perception is reality. So however something is seen through the screen, even though it may not appear like it really is, it doesn't matter. Once someone has seen it, you can't unsee something. So once they've seen that. So make sure that you're very clever on how you are shooting that video or they're taking those pictures. It's super important. Now be creative because it's going to be rewarded. The creativity when people are looking at different virtual tours, they are looking for things that make your community stand out from other people's communities. And for our supplier friends that are on the call, if you are doing shots of things that you have within your warehouse or products that you offer, show them in a different way. Every single person has a picture of their product sitting on a counter or sitting in a photo booth or has a professional photo taken. Show it being used. Show that, because be creative. That's always going to be rewarded for sure. You need to take risks. Someone's like, I saw one of the funniest ones ever where they're filming around a room and they had Bigfoot, the Sasquatch, hidden over in the corner. Never said a word, but everybody started talking about the funny apartment videos with the Sasquatch. in the corner, and people started going to it. Well, of course, that became viral. And once they became viral, they were able to get more people. So pretty neat stuff. So take those risks. Angle is key. Just remember, when you look at anything on video or photo, depending on where that camera or where that video is held, where that phone is held, it's going to look completely different. So it's very important for you that you understand the angle. What I would suggest you do is film it, take your pictures, have 2 or 3 different people look at it, and then come back into it later and say, okay, this was good, this was not good, we need to change the angle. Angle's super important. Be thorough, especially if you're doing a video. If you're doing a video, there's no reason to not be thorough and talk about things that you maybe wouldn't necessarily normally talk about. And say, hey, look at this really cool feature within the dishwasher. Or look at this view from the patio. You can see the lake. Be totally thorough. And the most important thing at the very end, is you need to know what the next step is. You need to know what that next step is, which is that call for action once again. So many people will do tours, whether it's a live tour or a recorded video tour with someone. And when they get to the end, they never get to the next step. They never ask them, okay, so are you ready to make that commitment? Are you ready to move forward with the application? You need to know what that next step is. And at the end of a video, it's so easy to say, isn't this place amazing? Just think this could be your home. You could join us in coming to live here. So know what you're doing when you put those things together. All right, so where do I save the videos? These are the questions we get asked a lot. Where do I save the videos? Well, first of all, anywhere in the cloud, anywhere totally in the cloud. But make sure you save them somewhere they can be accessed from any platform at all. And something that, again, is mobile friendly. That's 100% important, mobile friendly. Someone says, can we use YouTube? Of course you can use YouTube. One of the things to know about YouTube that's great is YouTube is owned by Google, so therefore they're in the Google search engine. And if your description of your video is good, that means Google's going to have their spiders crawl it more often, and you're going to be able to see more of that. That's pretty great. If you want to use a separate service like Vimeo or some type of your own cloud video service, that's great, but just make sure that you understand how you're going to post those and get those out to people. What about social media tours? Yes, I love social media tours. Social media tours are fantastic, especially when you can get people together and be able to say, hey, we're going to be doing this really awesome tour of our property at X time today. Invite everyone you know. We're going to draw for a $25 gift card or whatever. Social media tours work. Someone's like, well, the conversion rate on social media tours is not huge. Well, is it? Because if you have 40 people tour and you got 2 people convert, that's actually pretty good. Not so bad. So how do I get camera ready? That's a question people ask all the time. How do I get camera ready? Well, what you do is you take those videos and you take those pictures over and over again, and you find out which of those things that you like the best. Do I look better in this color? Do I look better in that color? Should I wear this? If you're going to be doing something inside of a unit, you want to make sure that whatever you're wearing complements the unit, right? Sounds pretty crazy, but it's actually pretty common sense. Make sure you complement the unit. And then DIY tours, is that a thing? And I'm sure several of you started doing this during the pandemic, but DIY tours are 100% a thing. And there's several products on the market now that are allowing DIY tours, that someone can use absolutely their own technology to be able to unlock a door, or someone can unlock the door for them at a preset time, and then you can actually walk them through it using a pre-recorded video that they use as a guide to walk through. Or I've seen people even go to, once they get to the unit, the person from the leasing office actually FaceTime them or Skype them from the actual office and said, okay, now that you're there, let's look around and tell me what you see and what do you like and what do you not like. DIY tours are a great thing because it gives people that safety, again, during the COVID. It gives people that safety sake that lets you keep moving forward. All right, so talk about some virtual tours. Here's a couple of cool things that I had pulled from online that I found. The reason to tell you why we like both of these. So the one on the left, the neat thing about this tour is they actually went in and made a point of doing every single floor plan that they had within the property. And they made sure that you could go in and see all of them. And it was a total walkthrough, a real walkthrough. Now they used an iPhone. They didn't have a videographer do this. They did an iPhone. But I tell you, I went through all of their floor plans and I actually could probably walk into their community today and be able to see everything and know where I was. Now the one on the right I loved because this particular community, their units aren't really big. They're not big, but they've got some really cool features like the stainless steel appliances, a beautiful island, floating shelves, some really neat stuff. So what they did is they moved their furniture out and it made the unit appear so much bigger than when there was any furniture in there. So think about this as you go through sharing stuff. And I think we said this at the beginning, but if you have questions and you want to ask questions, it's fine. Just make sure you put them in Q&A and we will get to them down there at the end. I'll get to all the questions, I promise. All right, so virtual tours sometimes, though, are not always exactly what they seem. I am hoping y'all can hear this when I play this video, but listen if you can hear what this guy does, what happens with him. So the paint doesn't work, he says. The slip resistant paint doesn't work. I love this video. The thing I love most about this video is when he did it, the guy wasn't going to post it. He absolutely was not going to post it. And one of his friends said, you need to post it because it's funny. And then it went viral. And then so many people wanted to come out and see this guy's unit that he was renting that he actually ended up renting it really quickly. So pretty funny. But again, bloopers work, but just know what you're getting into with your virtual tour. Let's move on. All right, so now they're ready to sign. So now what, before I move on to this one, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to launch that second poll. Let's see here. All right. I want you to talk a little bit about this right here. So we're talking about virtual leasing and some traffic stuff. I'm really curious. Since the pandemic, I call it the zombie apocalypse, happened, what percentage do you think online traffic has increased? What percentage do you think? You think it's the same? You think it's a slight increase? You think it's increased at least 30%? You think it's like a rocket, a bazillion percentage? What do you think? Let's look at see some guesses. Online traffic since the pandemic started. I'm gonna give you about 5 more seconds to vote. Get your votes in. 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm gonna end the poll and share the results. Okay, take a look here. So 50% of you said it was like a rocket. 44% of you said it increased at least 30%. And then 6% of you said a slight increase. Yeah, online traffic during the pandemic for online shopping and reviewing apartments increased over 75%, according to pretty much all the ILS networks across the country. So over 75% of an increase. So it tells you why it's so important that we can do everything virtually. All right, so they're ready to sign. So now what? So e-signature and digital rental applications are very important. Do you have those? Do you have them easy to use? Do people understand them? I'll have a lot of times people will say, well, wait a second, I'm a very small company. I don't use, the fancy online leases. I don't have that ability. Well, you still have that ability because you can use something like DocuSign or Sign Easy that are easy apps to use, or you can use Adobe because Adobe Sign is actually a real thing. And now digital signatures are legal in all 50 states. So you want to make sure that you're able to make it as easy as possible for people to do that online leasing application. However, you also want to make it as easy as possible for them to do online renewals, especially right now where we want to keep as many residents as we can. All right, so use a file sharing service. If you don't have document storage, use one of the many file sharing storages that are out there because there's a ton of them. Document storage is important, and understanding what you're supposed to keep for as long as you're supposed to keep it and how long the resident's supposed to have access to it are very important. Talk to your attorney to make sure you understand how those things work together. All right, check, double check, and triple check paperwork. When you're doing online leasing, it is so easy to make a mistake. I mean, it really is because you're going back and forth with emails and texts and everything else. So before you send out something for anyone to sign, I want you to check it. I want you to double check it. I want you to have somebody else do a triple check because it really is easy with all that stuff because we tend to read stuff that we think is supposed to be there, not what is actually there. That's our proofreading issue that we kind of do. All right, so virtual leasing, honestly, may open you up to some scams, but be vigilant, be absolutely vigilant. If anyone wants to move in immediately without even visiting or doing a video tour or doing a pictures or whatever, be very wary. Be very wary. There's a lot of those scams out there, and usually those are the people that pull off the identification fraud. Those are usually the people who do that. They try to move in super quickly, pretty much before you can have a double check of their background. So think about that and be super wary of anyone wanting to move in before we do that. All right, so when you do virtual leasing, you also need to understand all fair housing laws and how they apply to the rental process, because people tend to forget that in the virtual process, all prospects still must be treated exactly the same. Once again, exactly the same, because anything that can be said on the phone or an email or a video can very easily be misconstrued. It is so, so easy. And everyone has to be treated the same. So when you do a virtual leasing process, make sure that everyone on your team understands that when we do something, when we interact with someone online, or when we send a personal tour to someone, it cannot be different than how you treated every other potential applicant for there. And that is so important. Fair housing laws apply across the board. They don't just apply for in-person stuff. And again, the number of fair housing complaints dealing with the virtual process shot up because so many people were new to it and didn't understand that they couldn't, customize the process for every single person. It had to be done the same for everybody. And make sure when you're saying things that what you're saying cannot be misconstrued. That is very important. Okay, so now it's time for move-in. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not going to be allowed to be within 6 feet of them. Okay, so that's going to be fun. How are we going to do this with move-in? Well, there are some options. So what you want to do is you want to think about what you can do and what you cannot do. Like, for example, you can use locks with combinations that have their keys and have their move-in packet ready for them. Those are definite things you can do. Think about your package lockers. Think about being able to use your package lockers to be able to deliver the information for someone to be able to come in and get the stuff that they need to be able to get a move in. Also, how about something really cool, like once they move in, leaving their welcome box on their counter. And then once they're there, say, hey, we'd love to visit with you, FaceTime or hit this Zoom call or Skype us, and we'd love to walk you through and make sure you understand everything within your apartment. Very easy things to do. I've talked to a company that's actually based in Georgia that is doing some really cool virtual move-in stuff because they, again, couldn't be around people, but they still were personalizing the touch from the move-ins, and people felt like they were part of the community when they moved in. So think about that as you're doing those things. All right, so they're in. They love their apartment. And now our amazing, usual, vibrant community is locked down with limited or no amenities. Okay, what are we going to do? Well, it's pretty easy, right? So we're going to do, it's all good. We got you. We got you on this. Virtual resident events. Virtual resident events are the thing that I wanted to make sure we definitely hit on today, because there's some really cool, amazing things that are options out there that you can do, right? So as we start that, I'm going to ask you this little quick question here about virtual events. I'm curious, what has your experience been with virtual resident events? I don't like them, and neither do my residents. Meh, they were good at first, but interest in them waned. I think they still have some life in them, and they are awesome, and we have no plans to stop. All right, I want you to go ahead and vote. I'm watching. We're doing good. Oh, lots of votes coming in. All right, 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and stop. Let's see what we got going on here. All right, so handful of people said don't like them. Residents don't like them either. Man, they were good at first, but interest waned. Majority of people said I think they still have some life in them, and a few people said they're awesome and we have 0 plans to stop doing them. Glad to hear it, because done correctly, virtual resident events are pretty incredible. Let me show you some fun ones here. All right, so this was one of the ones that was done. I thought this was fairly brilliant. They found one of the leasing agents at this particular community found sidewalk chalk for sale at the Dollar Tree and came up with a brilliant idea of having the sidewalk chalk. It was the sidewalk chalk art contest for all the residents. They basically hung sidewalk chalk on the doors of every single apartment unit there and said, hey, listen, I want you to go out, I want you to do your thing, take your picture, post it to our social and say, this is our contribution to the thing. Well, some amazing, fun, super fun contest came out of this. And during the spring, summer, early fall, what a great idea to get people out and about. And not only that, it's chalk, so it doesn't damage the property. First good rain, it goes away, or you can have your guys go out there with a hose and get rid of it. But the sense of community that this builds and built within this one community was pretty amazing. So think about that. You could do a bunch of different things. Like I love the one with the little boy with the Superman flying over the buildings. By far my favorite of these things. But look at the ones at the top right. They played a game. They made a game. You have to twirl, touch your toes, roar and stomp, meow like a cat. all these fun things you can do. And people were out playing and having fun. And again, didn't cost the community very much at all. And they were able to get in there and engage their community. All right, talk about some other cool things. A grab and go breakfast. Now I know you probably don't think of this as a virtual event, but it absolutely is a virtual event. Because when we talk about a resident event, we're talking about anything that's a touch point. And a touch point is something that has a resident all of a sudden feel a sense of community with the apartment community that they live in. Grab and go breakfasts are great for this. And again, not everyone is going to participate in a grab and go breakfast. They're just not going to do it. If you can do these grab and go breakfasts, the residents love them. The great thing is, the most amazing thing is the mileage you get out of these events, because people who take advantage of it love it. And even the people who don't take advantage of it say, I think it's great that the community is doing this grab and go breakfast, even if they're not going to do it. It's pretty awesome. So that's just something for you definitely to look at there. Okay, virtual bingo. People are like, oh my God, bingo, it's for old people. No, bingo is for everyone, I promise you. And the way to do virtual bingo is don't do it at one time. Don't do it to where you're like, okay, we're going to call a bunch of numbers, because that's not what people want to do. Do it in kind of a fun way. Here, we'll give you a couple different options here. First thing you can do is you can say, okay, every night at 7:45, join us on the Zoom, and we're going to call out 5 numbers. And if somebody gets a bingo, great. But if not, then you keep playing. Other thing you can do is they will post a bingo number at different places around the community. On Tuesday mornings, a bingo number or numbers are posted at the pool house. On Wednesday afternoon, and before you go home from work, bingo numbers are posted by the mailbox. It is an ongoing game that you can play forever and ever. And the bingo cards are free to download online. Nice and easy, free to download. So think about playing bingo, but don't play it in a traditional bingo sense. Make it to where it's something that lasts over a period of time. You'll even have people talking about, having, I can't wait for the next bingo thing. And you can finish it up if you want to by actually doing a live event. So that's pretty good. All right. So obviously, the virtual events are fun. The Zoom, I know we're all Zoomed out, right? But doing things like a trivia night are a lot of fun. And one of the greatest things you can do is that Zoom will allow you to be able to do this, especially by using breakout rooms. So what you can do on a trivia night, and this is actually a trivia night that we had done. Actually, the pictures are over there. Members, I didn't get all the screenshots. We actually had like 9 different screens. I just grabbed a couple. There were so many people. But what we would do is we divide them into teams, and then we name the rooms as the team name. And then what happens is we come in and we ask 5 questions, and we send them off to their breakout rooms, and they get a countdown. There's a countdown on the clock, and you can do a Zoom countdown clock in the breakout rooms. And as you're doing that countdown and it's starting to work its way backwards towards you, you notice, okay, we've only got so much time to answer these 5 questions. And then when they come back, and what happens is they submit their answers in the chat, and you can lock down the chat to where they can only chat to, again, just the moderator, not to each other, so they can't cheat off of each other. And then it's fun. You go over and you call out the right answers, and you see the faces of people be like, oh, we all should have had that. We argued about that, the answer to that question. And they're so very easy to do. Trivia events are great, and there's so much trivia questions that are online that you can take advantage of. All right, paint and sips. If you have not done one of these paint and sip events, they are so incredibly much fun. And the ability to be able to do these paint and sips is really cool, because you see those little canvases that are right there? Well, they sell those canvases 10 for $10. They're $1 a piece. And then you can be able to do these little paint and sips. And what you do is you can do them outdoors in your property, or if you wanted to keep everybody separate, you could do them again using Zoom. And you could say, okay, here's what we're painting, and you show the picture up online, and then you have someone who actually knows how to paint, which is important. Say, I'm going to get you started by telling you how to do the thing, but you make people share. So tell us, what are you sipping tonight as you're doing that? If you feel comfortable enough doing it as an outdoor event or in a big open area where people still have some social distancing, it's a great thing to be able to do. You can still have your person who is leading it still be spaced out. But I love this as a virtual event, because people number one, people would feel way more likely and not self-conscious about their artwork stuff to do it from their home. It's very easy to do. And the paint and sips, again, are super cheap, easy to do. And then what we would encourage everybody to do is once they're done, drop off your painting, at the clubhouse, and we're going to display them for everybody to see, kind of thing. And that's kind of fun. You can even randomly draw, a winner for a gift card. So very fun virtual resident. Okay, these are some fun ones, right? So one of the hardest things that we had to do during the pandemic was keeping active, keeping fit. I'm in, Florida, where, it's 9 million degrees and we can get outside all the time. Not every part of the country is that way, Washington. Sometimes it's a little harder to be able to get outside. The picture on the right there, this guy was teaching calisthenics and aerobics. He's on a rooftop teaching to people on their balconies, and he actually moved around the community so that people from all sides could see him to be able to do that and get active. The one on the left, that's Zoom yoga. And Zoom yoga is nice and easy. So everybody get any device, click on this Zoom, and our yogi is going to lead you through some different poses to be able to help you, be more calm and understand a little better. But again, there's that sense of community because they're doing something together with you. And that is so very important, the ability to be able to do that. All right, I love this event. I think this is fantastic. I know 2 communities that have done it and they were super, super successful. So here's what they did. They thought about something that everybody has in their cabinet, right? So they're like, everybody's got eggs, everybody's got flour, everybody's got general stuff. So they would pick 3 crazy ingredients. And like one of them they did was like gummy worms. They picked 3 crazy ingredients, and then they take the ingredients and they had, okay, if you want to participate in our Chopped event, you come by the office within certain hours and you pick up your little bag of stuff. And it's whatever the crazy ingredients are. And then they log on at a certain time. And then they're not supposed to open their bag beforehand, but if they do, whatever. But they can't have started cooking anything. And then the person running the Chopped event says, okay, open your bags. So you have got, lima beans, gummy worms, and cinnamon. And we need you to make a entree, and we have, 35 minutes and go. And and while they're cooking and all that, you need to have someone who's talking to them and telling them about cooking techniques and all of this. And there are local restaurants that will help you with this. There are local restaurants that will help you have a chef to come in to talk about things that would be. And then you can have a time where you can say, okay, at any given time, if someone has a question for the chef, just come on up here and type it into the chat or unmute yourself and say, hey, chef, I got a question. The thing I want to make requires skim milk. I don't have skim milk. Is there anything I can substitute for it? And the chef says, oh yeah, you actually can. You can do this and this as a substitute for that. But it is such a fun event. And then at the end, everybody shows what it is on the screen that they made, and you let the chef pick a winner. And that's kind of fun. And then usually what the chef can give them a gift card normally to their restaurant, because you're promoting the restaurant as a pretty good thing that they can do as well. So definitely loved the Chopped event and think it is a ton of fun. All right, dance-offs. I think the dance-offs are brilliant. I moved down to Florida from Atlanta. I moved down right before the pandemic happened because I'm genius that way. But I lived in an apartment community for the first year that actually was in Clearwater. And during my first year, they had events where they would have a band, or I say a band, 2 or 3 pieces, come and sit in the courtyard and play, and everybody was out of their balconies listening because it was like a concert. But this particular thing, all it requires for you to do is a boombox, right? And you go around and you're like, it's a dance party. You get in the golf cart and you drive around, tell them we're going to do a dance party tonight between 7:30 and 8:30. We come by, make sure you're dancing. And if they're dancing on their balcony, make it like Mardi Gras, throw them beads or throw them something fun. Again, doesn't cost you a lot to do, but it creates that sense of fun and how much my community cares about me. Look at what they're doing. They're keeping me engaged here and letting us have a good time. Netflix parties. Netflix parties are great. Tonight we are watching XYZ movie. It's on Netflix, obviously. And we're all going to start at X time. And if they want to participate and they sign up for the event, then you hang a bag on their door. You hang a bag on their door and you drop on their door 2 things of microwave popcorn and a thing of Sour Patch Kids. Again, everything's dollar store. These are all dollar store items you can get at the Dollar Tree. So you put these on their door if they're participating. How much fun is this for them to be able to watch a movie and then talk about it with some other people and say, oh my God, I never thought that was going to happen. And what did you think about that when that thing happened to you? So virtual resident event at Netflix party is definitely a great one. There's a whole bunch of other things. For kids, make sure you do things that are just fun. If you have a lot of kids in your community, coloring sheets like the one on the left are a lot of fun. And you see that's got a lot of coloring to do on there. Have them color it. And then once they color it, they turn it in, write their name on it, and you proudly display it at the leasing office for them to come in. It's like their art gallery. Teddy bear hunts. Teddy bear hunts are great. You put teddy bears in the teddy bears in the window, and you go around, take pictures, feature all their teddy bears again on your social media pages. And this is Teddy. He lives in our community, and it's a pretty awesome thing to do with teddy bear hunts as well. Scavenger hunt. You do scavenger hunts. You list your items on the Facebook page or on the community app, and at an announced time. We've been listing it at this time. They cannot leave their apartment, but they can be creative on items that they don't have. They think they can try to put something together. Have awards for different categories. You can have an award for like, okay, most creative goes to so-and-so. And you could have an award that's fun to would be like, should never participate in a scavenger hunt again for someone who didn't know what they're doing. Then have the winner choose the items for the next scavenger hunt. It's a lot of fun. So, and you can use all the pictures that people put together to help unite the community. Let them have a lot of fun in doing that. It's good for doing those things. All right, so curious what else you got. You can drop something in the chat, or you can drop something into the Q&A. One of the things that I would say is, I'm sure they're just as prevalent in Washington as they are down here, is if you can do food trucks. Food trucks are fantastic. Sometimes it's more difficult to get them on a weekend because they usually have venues that they go to. But food trucks are always looking for places to go on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. And they would love to be able to come out and partner with you. And you can do a really fun thing where you can even say to the food truck, let your community order in advance. Let them be able to order in advance from the food truck. And they can just go pick up their thing at a certain time, and how great that was there. So, all right, I'm really curious to hear if you have any questions. We'll have some time at the end here for questions. That was important. You can drop them into chat or into Q&A, and I'm going to watch both. Let's see. Cassidy says, Art Collective canvases residents to come down household at a time and add to the art piece. That's wonderful. I like that idea, Cassidy. Yeah. So that's kind of like our, building out our community art gallery. I think that's really a great idea. Who else has something that they would like to add to our group? You can drop it into the chat. Let's see. What did Kristen says, our assistant community manager came up with a guessing for the amount of M&Ms in the jar. They want a turkey. Oh, that's awesome. That is really fantastic. Now I'm an M&M freak, so I'd probably win that for sure. But that is really those are fun contests to do. I tell you, if you want to do a really hard one for people to be able to guess, do Twizzlers, the long red Twizzlers. Put those in a jar because they're really difficult to be able to tell how many are in there because of the size and shape of Twizzlers. It's kind of a fun thing to do, and you won't believe the number of how wide the range of guesses is going to be for Twizzlers, for sure. Raffle ticket for each event hosted, if attended, collect at the end of the year and win a prize. Oh, I think that is awesome. Yeah, so do a lot of events and then track participation, and that's great. And then so like for every one you do, you get another chance to win, and then you have a really fun prize for the ones who won the most, for who attended the most resident events. There are so many options that you can do for resident events. One of the things I love now is Singo. And Singo is like musical bingo. So what happens is people show up and then you play a song and you give them a bingo card, and the bingo card just has a bunch of song titles on there, and you play a snippet of a song. And if they get that, they mark it on their card in advance. It's a fun way to talk in between because it's fun to watch people sing along, especially with the songs that are totally sing-along songs. Fun to watch people do that. So, any other questions or comments on any of these great things? There's some really great ideas, you guys. I love the fact that you're doing some of these fun things. I really love that raffle idea thing. That's really a cool one. I want to add that to my bag of tricks. All right, Sloan, looks like that's all the questions we've got.
Yeah, you covered a lot of ground. I really appreciate that you kind of covered, it really was a virtual lemonade stand. We got a little bit of everything that is still virtual. And I think, when we look at the way people responded to this survey, whether or not you were doing a lot of virtual anything before the pandemic, it will never again go away, right? Like we figured it out. And what's really great is we had probably some residents that didn't engage before because, you know, they just weren't going to for whatever reason. And so now you have this other avenue. I think a question I would want us to maybe end with, Russ, is what advice would you have as we kind of morph back? Like we're, you know, depending on where you live in the country, we're kind of back, we're kind of not back, whatever. But at some point we're going to kind of come back. What would you kind of suggest to property management professionals for your kind of plan once we're like reopened? Would it be a hybrid of having some virtual and some in person? How do you kind of test the temperature of your residents to find out what they're ready for?
I think that's a wonderful question. And I do think that as we move back into doing things more in person, the thing that we need to remember is that not everyone is going to have the same comfort level with events like they would have before. So the most important thing I like to do is I like to tell people when you're moving back into in-person events, first thing to do an in-person event, make it socially distant and let everybody know we are having a socially distant event. If you have food, it's all prepackaged. Mm-hmm. It's nothing that's sitting out on the counter for people to help themselves. It's all prepackaged portions. One of the things I love, I went to one at an apartment community where they did a dessert party, and all of the desserts they had done were in like little shot glasses. They all were little tiny shot glasses of dessert, individual ones, and you got what you wanted. And that was a really good thing to do. Once you get to the point where people are a bit more comfortable, I would not say to leave the resident events, the virtual resident events altogether. I would say keep them around, especially for a couple of different reasons. Number one, not everybody works the same schedules too. And if you do virtual events, especially things that live for a period of time, and people who work a night shift and can't come to a normal 7:30 Thursday evening event will be able to participate. Because if it's an event that runs over a week or over 2 weeks or whatever it may be, they can still participate in that. And that's why I think those virtual events have opened up some avenues of interaction with some residents that we've never been able to interact with before.
Right. Well, this has been really great. Thank you so much. I want to tell you who our our $50 Tango gift card winner is. We're doing a little bit different in each session today. The first session we did, it was the very first person to log into this session. Today, it was the very first person to put something in the chat, and that was Nisha Wilson. So Nisha, congratulations. You won a $50 Tango gift card. We will get that out to you. Again, we'll have the recording of Russ's session today with all of his great ideas loaded by tomorrow, so you can go back and review this. Or if you were, if you have a colleague that was taking the Gen Z session right now, they can come watch this. We invite you to come back. Russ is going to be back in just a few minutes with the customer service with a smile, not a smirk. I know that with the pressure we've been on, I do a lot of smirking these days, but we probably need to do more smiling. So that'll be our next session. So we welcome you to join us back for that. And Russ, thank you so much. We'll see you in a few more minutes.
All right. Thanks all.